Valis is not what I would call a great action game. It doesn't control especially well, the graphics aren't very good, and the level designs are the very definition of bland. But there is one thing that Valis has going for it, and that's the story. All 4 games have a pretty great story, so I thought it would be fun to tell the full saga, starting with the first game. Turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to spoil the story and ending for Valis, the Phantasm Soldier on the Genesis and PC engine. This is Game Over, the early years. Let me introduce you to Yuko, a normal schoolgirl whose only struggle seems to be the weather changing abruptly. But today is going to put this carefree teen to the test, because what's about to happen is the complete opposite of normal. First, she learns that her good friend Reiko is moving to a different town, vaguely hinting that the 2 girls would someday meet again or something. Even more perplexing is what happens next, when a horned demon seems to break through the concrete in order to attack Yuko. And here's where it gets even weirder. Some mysterious stranger throws Yuko a sword for protection. As it turns out, the weapon she's wielding is none other than the legendary sword of Valis, and Yuko has entered the fantasy world. She's introduced to an ethereal woman with purple hair and haunting eyes named Valia, who reassures Yuko that this is not a dream. Fantasy, yes. Dream, no. We're told that the real world is out of balance, what with crime and wars and such. Valia thinks that this is caused by the leader who governs the power, an evil king named Rogueless. It seems that this Rogueless fella has locked the power of the Yang in a precious stone named the Phantasm Jewel, and then that jerk broke it into a bunch of pieces. Valia wants Yuko to risk her life in order to not only collect the pieces of the Phantasm Jewel, but then put them back together in order to defeat Rogueless. Yuko is understandably hesitant to take part in all this nonsense, but it's too late. Valia has already picked out the incredibly revealing and not at all protective outfit for our unlikely hero. So, that bikini armor is even more ridiculous when you realize that our first battle in the fantasy world takes place in the middle of the ice and snow. Yuko doesn't seem fazed by it, but you have to admit that it's kind of a jerk move. Valia strips away all of Yuko's clothing and then sends her out to freeze to death. Not cool. Anyway, Yuko eventually takes shelter in a cave. Unfortunately, it's not just any old cave, but rather one filled with lava. I'm telling you, this girl can't win. She goes from the freezing cold to the insufferable heat of a volcano. This is followed by a harrowing fight in a mountain range. There are rickety bridges and birds everywhere, which is at least a step up from the lava and the ice. Okay, so we collect the jewel piece and we make our way to a castle that has seen better days. The stone architecture is crumbling and everything is in disarray. Who would leave a castle in this kind of shape? As it turns out, it's not a matter of who, but rather what. And in this case, the what is a 2-headed dragon. Yuko just can't catch a break. Okay, so with the dragon defeated, our next stop is a spooky forest right out of Castlevania. But wouldn't you know it, this forest comes with a special surprise. No, it's not Dracula, but rather Reiko. That's right, Yuko's best friend is also in the fantasy world. And in a cruel twist of fate, the two are forced to fight in order to unlock the next piece of the jewel. Yuko wins, of course, but the feeling is bittersweet. Reiko is badly injured and resigned to dying, and Yuko knows it's only a matter of time. The two talk about the good old times, Reiko apologizes, they share stories about their different families, and then, just when it seems like it can't possibly get any more emotional, Reiko dies. Unfortunately, Yuko isn't given a whole lot of time to grieve, because Rogueless shows up to ruin the mood. He laughs at the two girls for giving in to the nonsense sentimentality, and then makes a bunch of sexist comments against Reiko. He invites our hero to his castle for one final battle. I mean, they probably could have just done the final battle right here, but Rogueless knew that critics would complain if they didn't at least have one more level. Yuko says one final goodbye to her fallen friend, and then sets off to complete her mission once and for all. So, the Rogueless castle is huge and full of dangers. The final stage is about more than just hacking and slashing, because this is the level that puts Yuko's platforming prowess to the test. She eventually finds that evil king, who is floating and throwing fireballs. That's a terrible combination, but nothing that our hero can't overcome. The two fight, and here's what happens next. So, was it a dream? Of course not, as we'll find out as we continue our adventures with Valis 2. But before we move on to the sequels, I first want to talk about the much more satisfying PC engine ending. This version didn't get an American release, so I'm just gonna have to run this with the original Japanese voice acting. Even if you don't know what they're saying, I think you'll agree that this is substantially better.
これで終わったわけではないぞ。ベカンタの力は消えはせん。人の世ある限りはな、安らぎなどほんの一時の気休めでしかないのだ。
負け惜しみよ。
人の心ほど弱く移ろいやすいものはない。己の欲望のためならば騙し傷つけ血を流し合う。所詮は醜い生き物なのだ。お前が命を懸けて得た勝利など何の意味があろう。違う。
傷つけ合うことの何倍もの強さで人は愛し合うことができる。いつかきっとそのことに気づく時が来るわ。それまで私は戦い続ける。たとえ私が力尽きても新たな戦士がきっと答えを見つけてくれるわ。
それもよかろう。人間どもが目覚めるのが先か、お前が力尽き倒れるのが先か。世はその生を大気に返し、お前の戦いぶりを眺めるとしようぞ。さらばだ、バリスの戦士よ。
夢じゃないのね。
So, there's nothing especially noteworthy about the side-scrolling action in Valis, but I love the stories. This is just the setup to the even crazier sequels, which we'll get to in future episodes. Just wait until you hear the voice acting in Valis 2 and 3. In the meantime, I think you should pour one out for Reiko. She died too young. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, The Early Years. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes every Monday. So here's the question I have for you. What's a game you like only because of the story? Like I said, these Valis games aren't necessarily worth going back to, but I love the story. Are there games that you're like that with? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. In other news, we have a big week ahead of us, or at least I think we do. I'm still having some computer problems. I have reviews ready to go for both Emerald Shores and Damsel, so hopefully those will go up without a problem. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.